Hello again, gorgeous souls. Welcome to this fabulous video where we're going to be talking all about the Saturn retrograde for 2025. This is all about closing time loops, karmic restructuring. Saturn retrograde actually is pretty pleasant if you know how to use it. So we're going to talk about how to use this cycle for your most optimal good. Welcome to my channel, the Starseed Sanctuary. My name is Dr. Heather. I am a professional astrologer, Akashic Records reader, and intuitive energy healer. I do many things. I wear many hats. And if you're here joining me for the first time, welcome. Please take a minute and hit that subscribe button so you guys can stay up to date with all of the magical content I create. All right, let's dive right in. So in this video, we're going to be talking about what exactly is Saturn retrograde, some high frequency benefits of Saturn retrograde, because retrogrades are actually magical AF, you guys. A lot of misconceptions out there in the mainstream pop culture, in your little 90-second TikTok astrology videos, okay? Like no tea, no shade, no pink lemonade, but there's a lot of just bad and inaccurate information about how to use retrogrades, the power of retrogrades. What a beautiful time that these cycles are for us. It's just, you need to know how to use them. You need to know how to work with them. So we're going to talk about everything you need to know about this 2025 Saturn retrograde, some starseed astrology and magic of this Saturn retrograde cycles, the fixed stars and other aspects Saturn will be making as it backpedals. And then Saturn retrograde in the natal chart. This is a really important point to go over. So if that applies to you, if you have your natal Saturn retrograde, you're going to want to stay tuned for that portion. Okay. So what exactly is Saturn retrograde? So a retrograde occurs when a planet appears to be moving backwards in the sky from our perspective or our vantage point on Earth. Planets don't actually move backwards. It's more of an optical illusion in the differences of orbital paths. But it does, all of these different planetary retrogrades do have very mysterious and powerful effects. So when retrograde, what that planet rules is more inward focused or more introspective. Timelines can shift and healing potentials are super amplified, especially with planets like the Lord of Time and Karma, Saturn. So Saturn rules many things, including responsibility, discipline, focus, mastery through hard work and solitude. Saturn is one of the malefics in astrology, so there can definitely be issues that come up around boundaries, obstructions, limitations, delays. Those of you that are currently going through a Saturn return cycle or have been through at least one Saturn return cycle, you know it can be a little rough because it's an initiation of the next chapter of your life as an adult, a more adulty adult, if you will. Saturn also rules sorrows, manifestation. A lot of people miss that one. Consistency, melancholy, our relationship to time, our relationship to karma, and our relationship to being a wise elder or other wise elders in our life. Now, in Western society, we tend to just like throw away the elderly, which is like disgusting and awful. But this, Saturn can really help us learn to appreciate what our elders have to teach us. And sometimes that's just that we don't want to do it the way they did, right? There's still a lot to learn from our elderly, so much wisdom, so much life experience that they have to share. And Saturn really embodies that energy. Saturn in a medical or health astrology also rules the skeletal system, the joints, the teeth, the knees, the skin, and big matrix energy. You may have heard of the Saturn moon matrix. There's a theory in the new age that this is a control system. Saturn definitely has some very nefarious occult symbolism attached to it. And so that is here at play as well. Okay. So Saturn stations retrograde once a year for about 4.5 months, and it spends roughly a third of the year retrograde. So while the retrograde movements of other planets like Mercury and Neptune tend to weaken the effect of those planets and what they symbolize, their energy, the qualities of Saturn's powers are actually enhanced. So this often brings outdated lessons, karmic reality checks, and increased ability to close old time loops, shadow timelines, karmic loops, to really do a lot of karmic clearing of like soul contracts, things that are no longer relevant or helpful to you. It's a huge, huge benefit to work with Saturn retrograde for deep energy clearing. I talk extensively about how to do this systematically in the Quantum Alchemy course. So please check that out if you want to learn more about how to do that. Karmic debts are sorted out during Saturn retrogrades as well by kind of blending the past with the present and the future. And the confines of three-dimensional time, that linear time, may seem to bend even more, which can be super useful actually, because there is an illusion that time is linear. We're very much indoctrinated to believe it's like past, present, future. Look at how we age. I'm getting older every year, right? But time is multidimensional, time is circular. So this can be helpful just to keep in mind for connecting with past, parallel, future lives. If you do Akashic Records work, past life regression, or any type of like quantum alchemy work like I do, we do a lot of soul retrievals. We do a lot of exploring ancient past lifetimes where you may have had some type of malevolent spirit interference, where maybe you even had a hand in creating the matrix. And how do we repair that? Well, we do it very, very well during Saturn retrograde cycles, working with timelines and even quantum leaps. So even though Saturn can be a harsh teacher, Saturn is also a wise teacher. So Saturn retrograde can bring rewards our way, especially if real efforts were made during the time it was direct. So Saturn naturally rules boundaries, limits, responsibilities, discipline, authority. So during any Saturn retrograde transit, we might revisit those topics. And we might even feel like we're given a little bit of a moment of reprieve from typical effects of Saturn transits, especially if you have Saturn really prominently placed in your chart, like Saturn in the first house or Saturn conjunct any of your other planets. If you're a Capricorn rising, or even an Aquarius rising, because Saturn rules Aquarius in traditional Hellenistic astrology, Capricorn in the more modern. So we might get a little reprieve from the effects of Saturn once it's in its direct motion when we have this retrograde cycle, which can include pressure, a sensation of burden, fear, or frustration when Saturn's direct. So similar to all retrograde transits, Saturn's retrograde period are excellent for reviewing what we have learned thus far from Saturn's transits with a view to just continuously improve. Saturn retrograde periods are also really ideal for revisiting form or structure and understanding how something may best be built to stand the test of time, rethinking the structures in our life, as including routines that support us. So we're going to talk about some high frequency benefits of Saturn retrograde, including some ways that you can use this cycle for your highest good. Saturn retrograde, all retrograde cycles are magic. Repeat after me. Retrogrades are not bad. Retrogrades are magical. You just have to know how to use them. So the number one high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde is it's a time to ask what feels right on a soul level. Okay, there's a lot of things that we're conditioned to do as adults out there in the world, or even, teenagers, children out there in the world. Like, you have to go to school, you have to get good grades, you have to get a good job, you need to pay your bills, you need to get the oil changed in the car, you have to clean the house, you have to do things a certain way, you need to be serious, you need to take life seriously, all of these types of things. And it's like, okay, yes, some of that mundane stuff obviously does need to get done so our life functions on a certain level, but what feels right to you on a soul level? This is a beautiful time to gain more clarity on that by going inward and doing some introspection. Number two, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. You can focus on the most important commitments, and you can really kind of like, trim out what is not that important to you. Sometimes we will overcommit to things, right? We'll say yes when we really mean no. If you're feeling stretched really thin, like you're doing way too many things in your business, especially because Saturn does rule business trends, if you're feeling stretched too, it's like you have to refine. You have to really refine and restructure what you're doing around your commitments and focus on just the most important ones during this time. Number three, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. You can create space for more aligned goals and routines. Okay, because Saturn rules things like structure and manifestation, we can't manifest anything in this delusional way of like, manifest $50,000 in my bank account by the end of the month and then just like write that on a piece of paper and tuck it under a crystal and never do anything. No, that's delusion, right? Manifestation only works if you're aligned in the frequency and you're taking aligned action. You're planting the seeds, but you're also watering them. You're tending to the garden. So creating more space for these aligned goals and aligned routines and the structures that are going to support you to achieve what you really want in life. Number 4, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. It's a time to reassess, to refine and reinforce boundaries. Every one of you guys watching this, I know you probably have someone in your life who is a habitual line stepper. Okay. That person that's just like, they're not good at upholding your boundaries, respecting your boundaries. You may have told them your boundary or not, but you know, they're just bound. What are boundaries? There are people like that out there. So this is a time to get more clarity. What are your boundaries? That includes physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, energetic and spiritual boundaries. This is super important when it comes to protecting your energy field and psychic self-defense. If you don't know what your boundaries are, you're not sure what you're willing to interact with or not, that can really open you up to a lot of problems. So get clear on that, reassess, refine, redefine, and reinforce your boundaries on all levels. Boundaries don't keep people out. I think that's a common thing. People think, oh, boundaries are like this barrier where then people aren't going to be able to access me. No, boundaries show people where the door is, right? This is how you access me. You come through the front door, you knock on the front door, you call first before you come to my front door. So they know how to gain access to you appropriately. And they're super helpful. Okay. Number 5, it's way easier to resolve karmic knots. Again, manipulated or outdated soul contracts and integrate lessons during Saturn retrograde. Number 6, we can heal our relationship to time. This is my favorite one, I think. You can heal your relationship to time. We often don't think enough about that. What is my relationship to time? How am I spending my time? How am I creating time for the things I love? What is my belief system around time? How can I work with time in a more healthy relationship? So you can heal your relationship to time. You can refine or restructure your relationship to time, how you use or create time. Yes, you can create time. And you can transcend time as the badass mofo timeline alchemist you are. Everyone has the power to do that. It's really about, connecting with how you relate to time, how you experience time, and how you want to move through time or dance with time in space, really. Number 7, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. This time frame helps us own our feelings and be more accountable. Okay. Really deep soul level multidimensional healing only happens when you are radically accountable for yourself, for your feelings, for your thoughts, for your beliefs, for all of it. When you step out of that victim mode, life's not against you, God's not against you, the world's not against you. You got to be responsible for yourself. A lot of people don't want to do that because it's easier to bleed than it is to sweat. But Saturn retrograde lets us know it's okay to sweat, baby. Actually removes a lot of toxins, right? Number 8, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. So taking full ownership of our lives, full accountability on all levels, opens up so many doors for rapid growth and empowered work. You will be amazed what happens when you're like, I'm fully accountable for myself. If I don't like something in my life, it's up to me to change it. I ain't waiting on the world to change. I'm not waiting on, Betty, Bob, and Sue to change. No, I have to change from within myself. And then everything around me will change for the better. For real, for real. Okay. Number 9, high frequency benefit of Saturn retrograde. This is a lovely, lovely time to create better systems so your life functions more smoothly and efficiently. This could be something as simple as like a whiteboard that you have in your family room where you're more consciously tracking when your kids need to go to soccer practice, or when they get picked up from summer camp, or what day of the week we're going to meal plan or do groceries, etc. Appointments, right? Especially if you're running a household with multiple people in it and little people in it, that can be hard, right? To keep up on everything. It's one thing to have the Google Calendar or whatever on your phone. It's different to see it, especially if you're, neurodivergent of any kind. Like sometimes we just need to see, we need to see it visually. Color coding things, reorganizing your books, or just creating other routines that deeply support you. Maybe you do want to start going to bed an hour earlier so you can wake up at least a half hour earlier and you have this beautiful time in the morning to journal or stretch or do some yoga or whatever, right? So use this next period of Saturn retrograde to create better systems, better routines, so your life is a well-oiled machine of sorts. And then number 10, Saturn retrograde teaches us to level up our lives in very, very practical ways, to refine, restructure, reprogram, reflect on where you can be more of an adulty adult, and not in maybe like a traditional Saturnian authoritarian way, but in your own unique adult way, right? There's no right or wrong way to adult. Everyone has their own way of doing that. But doing that is going to help you break free from systems of oppression and control that siphon your soul. Love it. That rhymed. Let me know in the comments if there's any other benefits you would add to this high frequency benefits of Saturn retrograde. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so let's talk about the down low on this particular Saturn retrograde cycle in 2025. So Saturn retrograde, stations retrograde July 12th. It will be retrograde all the way till November 27th, 2025. Saturn will retrograde through fire sign of Aries and backtrack to the Akashic waters of Pisces, offering 2 phases. It's also dancing very closely in the sky with Neptune during this period. So Saturn retrograde in Aries is going to be from July 12th to September 1st, 2025. This is very bold, passionate, self-focused restructuring. There could be a lot of personal karmic lessons that come up, and closing timeline loops, realization about what boundaries you need within you so you can advocate for those externally. Then when Saturn backtracks in its retrograde cycle to the later degrees of Pisces, that's going to be September 1st through November 27th. This is a very different vibe for Saturn, right? It's more karmic. It's, a timeline, a karmic or an adulting existential crisis of some kind could come up, especially when it's at that anaretic 29 degree. As the boundaries between you and the cosmos become more murky, Pisces is very like formless, Akashic, right? Ruled by Neptune, and Saturn is not that. So those two all have some conflicts sometimes that come up for people. And then this is going to be really moving us quickly into the fall eclipse season where Saturn will be retrograde in Pisces. Saturn retrograde is also going to transit some important stars. So let's talk about those. So Saturn stations retrograde conjunct Cetus the whale, and then we'll backtrack over another star in Cetus the whale, Psalm or Curb, Tau Pegasus in the Pegasus constellation, Shyat, Beta Pegasus. It will backtrack over some stars in Cygnus, including the Cocoon Nebula in Cygnus, backtracking over another star in Pegasus, and then finally it's going to hit and activate Zeta Reticuli, the home of the infamous Greys. So do you have any natal chart placements in the early degrees of Aries? I would say anywhere from like 0 to 5 degrees of Aries, or the later degrees of Pisces. Anywhere really from like 20 to 29 degrees of Pisces, you're really going to feel certain parts of this Saturn retrograde cycle. And you can look to the house that Saturn is transiting in your chart, whatever house Aries or Pisces rules, and that will show you the areas of your life that will be most impacted. Saturn retrograde is going to be activating those points in your chart. And this is also a little bit of a restructuring for Cetesian starseeds, Pegasian starseeds, and Zeta Reticuli or Essassani starseeds as well, restructuring how you're working with your guides too. Maybe clearing out any manipulated soul contracts, any negative or malevolent entities in your field. This is a great time to do that stuff if you feel called to. Okay, so Saturn retrograde in the natal chart, some karmic meanings. So, do you have Saturn retrograde in your natal astrology chart? I do. Comment below if you do. If you do, this can really influence your life in very profound ways. More than any other natal retrograde planet, Saturn retrograde in the natal chart absolutely indicates you're redoing a lifetime. You're a very old soul redoing a lifetime, and you can check and see what fixed star, asteroid, nebula, or galaxy are conjunct your natal Saturn retrograde to see what cosmic or Earth lifetime you're redoing. Mine is conjunct the shapely attractor, you guys. And if you've watched any of my deep space astrology videos, you know that's like, what the F? It makes sense why my life has been incredibly paranormal, weird, and multidimensional, otherworldly. There's so many experiences I've had that are just not of this world. And I'm here for it. I'm down with that. So I'm here redoing a lifetime that's connected to another realm entirely, which is why I'm able to create so much magical content for you guys about stuff that a lot of people don't talk about for whatever reason. Some of it comes from study here on Earth. Some of it comes from, downloads and things I've channeled from other sources. So let me know in the comments, do you guys have natal Saturn retrograde? All natal retrograde planets definitely in karmic and evolutionary astrology do indicate you're redoing a lifetime, a past or a parallel lifetime. Again, time isn't linear. But Saturn retrograde generally is felt like a heavier weight of sorts because you're redoing your connection to the motherfucking matrix. That is Saturn's association. Hopefully, here to glitch that matrix into oblivion and undo the Babylonian spell in which the synthetic or shadow matrix was created, woven together, and planted into the earth. If you want to learn more about that, join Quantum Alchemy, and we'll talk extensively about that at some point too in the Stargate membership. Okay. Ultimately, here, you just want to remember retrogrades are magic. They're so powerful. They're beautiful cycles. So don't believe any fear-based dystopian hype about retrogrades that you see online. It's just not the tea. It's not the full tea. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to sign up for my newsletter, the Galactic Gazette. Check out my offerings, my courses, my membership if you want to work more with me and get access to my entire library. There's so many beautiful things in those containers. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.